All right, Aries, here is your overall. The Page of Swords. Boy. The Page of Swords being the overall here could be saying that you're dealing with some bad news, unexpected bad news, or dealing with a difficult situation. The Page of Swords, though, could be about needing more information. One of the things that I warn about with this one is if you're looking for answers, whatever comes out of the Page of Swords is not going to satisfy you. You're still going to have these questions. But on the positive side, the Page of Swords here is ready to deal with difficult situations with the information that is available, right? Like dealing with things with integrity and intelligence and grace, even though it may not exactly be the kind of news that you want to hear. Now, on the other hand, right, gossip does come up with the Page of Swords. You know, somebody who is asking way too many questions. And it's funny because that comes up with use your time well. You know, but for some of you, it could just be that you're needing more information, that you just don't have all the details yet. You know, but then half-truths kind of come up with this too, but we'll see. Okay, so in the past, the Ace of Cups. So in the past, Aries, there was an opportunity to have emotional fulfillment, new love, a new spiritual connection with the Ace of Cups, right? Something that makes you feel whole and emotionally filled. Now, you may have been in this place in the past, but maybe you have been like depleted, right? And I say that because of the Oracle cards. But this could also show that this is still an opportunity that is coming through for you. But maybe we need more information, more details. Maybe you have some questions that need to be answered. Ooh, shit. All right. Yeah, I would say that, you know, the truth would be essential here. The Seven of Swords in the present moment. Now, because we're looking at the Page of Swords, this could be a situation where intentions are not clear. For some of you, this may have been like an opportunity to have a new beginning in love, but there is, you know, this deceit and this deception going on with the Seven of Swords, right? Sneaky, sketchy on the down low kind of shit. And you may be, you know, wanting to get the full story here with the Page of Swords being the overall. But, you know, we'll see what's going on in the environment because, you know, I don't want to harshly judge that Ace of Cups yet because I feel like there's a reason why this is still coming through. You know, and it just may be that somebody is not opening up about, you know, what their plans are. Now, this could, though, be you not wanting to reveal what you have planned. Because, you know, that Ace of Cups is yours. That's your opportunity. That is something new that you get to start that's going to fill you up, make you feel good, right? And hopefully, you know, not being depleted here. But we'll see. Okay. The Seven of Wands in future conditions. I think that this is where we start speaking up. You know, and whatever opposition is coming at you, you're not having it. Right? Like normally with the Seven of Wands, I kind of feel like drawing the line in the sand. You cannot cross here. This is what you cannot do to me anymore. For some of you, absolutely that can be the case. You may be looking at possibly trying to restart a relationship or restart something here. But there are questions that you have. We need some answers. What is going on behind the scenes? What is somebody doing? And if it's about, you know, the truth coming out about something that's been going on, this is where you're like, enough is enough. You know, you're not going to back down. You're going to speak up. You're going to use your voice. Somebody has to answer for, you know, what they may have done behind your back, which can be the case with the Seven of Swords. Now, on the other hand, if it's just about, you know, not revealing your plans, then, you know, if it does kind of come out, with the Page of Swords being the overall, this is where you're going to stand up and say, you know what? No, I'm doing this. You know, you're not going to oppose me. Nothing is going to stop you here. But I do feel like for some of you, it's enough is enough. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. But this also feels like demanding information or demanding answers. Which, yeah, for some of you, I can imagine. With the Seven of Swords being there. Okay, your best path to follow, the High Priestess. I don't like this because it bothers me because of the Page of Swords being the overall. The immediate feeling that I'm getting off of this is that, first of all, we're talking about information that needs to come out, right? Like hidden information with the High Priestess. But the thing is this is really about trusting what you know to be the truth. So it's almost like you have to read between the lines and trust that there is more here that you know is going on. Now, on the other hand, though, if this is about, you not opening up about something, it's saying that everything that is being kept hidden, may need to be revealed now. That hidden information needs to come to light. But unfortunately, with the Page of Swords, this is one of those things where you're not getting the full story. So I don't, and the thing is Aries is usually an open book. They don't have anything to hide. If you want to know something, here it is, right? What you see is what you get. There is no need for mystery or guessing games, but unfortunately for you, you're going to have to, with the High Priestess, I believe, trust what you know to be the truth, right? And again, like reading between the lines, which is something you shouldn't have to do. But given that the Seven of Swords is in the present moment, it would make sense. In your environment, judgment. Interesting. Now, there may be an opportunity to kind of like make peace with this. Sometimes with the Page of Swords, I kind of look at that and I think, well, why didn't you just tell me? It's not that bad. Like, why is it that you just don't talk to me about these things? And that may be how you're feeling about a situation with someone. And judgment may be saying that there's an opportunity in your environment to just, kind of close the door on this, reviewing the situation and then making peace with it. But then the other part of it is, for a lot of you, this situation is going to make you look back on like everything that happened and things become clear in a way where it's based off of, what your intuition is telling you, observing, right? Watching a situation and gaining information that way. But because of what happens here with the Seven of Swords, it makes you look at everything in its like totality here with judgment, right? And you're passing your judgment and wanting to close the door on it. For some of you, you may have thought that you knew about what was going on with a person or a situation, but clearly, you didn't here. Now, for some of you, I kind of feel both. I feel like some of you are dealing with all-out lies and deception. For others of you, it's intentions not being clear and not having a lot of information. Like you're not hearing anything directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And it's like you're just watching a situation here, but you don't know what's really going on. But it's all surrounding an opportunity to either begin again or start something new here with Ace of Cups. And again, something that's going to be emotionally fulfilling, right? And with the Seven of Wands, I kind of look at this as, you're going to have to review the situation in a way where you can pass the accurate judgment that you need to in order to move on with this situation. But I feel like you move into this point where nothing is going to stand in your way. You're eventually going to get to the answers that you're wanting. You're eventually going to get to the truth. But I'm going right back to that Ace of Cups and thinking this is either going to be wasted or this is something that, can be refilled for you. Wow, man. Your hopes and your fears, the Knight of Wands. Now, sorry guys, for some of you, this is fearing that this is going to be like one of those situations that's like in and out, right? Being swept up in passion, but then losing interest. And then it's just, I don't want to do this anymore. So this could be like not wanting to waste your time. But what I find interesting is that you're being told here to like read between the lines, observe the situation, because what you know to be the truth is what is going to help you here. But I'm going to take some coffees here. Hold on a second. This really feels like this is, and again, I feel both. Like I feel like I'm talking to two different groups of Aries. Like you have the one group here that is dealing with an opportunity where things have been hidden, and there's the deception going on, and there's the looking at the entire situation in its totality and finally like drawing the line in the sand, demanding answers, needing to read between the lines, look at the hidden information, observe somebody's actions. And then you have the Knight of Wands' hopes and fears. And this could be about fearing that this, person or situation is just going to be like in and out, like somebody isn't going to follow through. And I don't necessarily feel like it's you in this scenario. Now, for those of you who are looking at a new opportunity, possibly in love and in a relationship here, intentions aren't clear. We don't have the answers. We're not getting the full story. You're having to watch and observe the situation. But as soon as all of that kind of comes out, the Seven of Wands is like, I'm not letting anything stand in my path. I'm taking advantage of this. It's like you're bypassing the Page of Swords. That's a temporary setback. I don't care what that says anymore. I know, I see. But this is about something that with judgment, we may have already called it, but it could be something that's coming back up from the past. You're needing to really review this and look at it. And with the Knight of Wands, you don't want to go after this if you're not going to follow through on it. Are you doing this because you just want to experience immediate passion? Or are you doing this because you genuinely want to, take this somewhere? I love the Knight of Wands, but a lot of times he doesn't really think about the consequences of his actions. And for the other group here, you may feel like you're dealing with a person who doesn't really care what they do. It's interesting because I feel both. I feel a strong, drive to get past the unknown and get to that new beginning. And for those of you, it's like, I don't know if I can get past this and refill the cup if you're having to read between the lines. And then not only that, but, make it very clear that I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Wow, Aries, the hell. And then coming out, Temperance. Like, hell. Temperance coming out is saying that I think that for a lot of you, especially if you're the Knight of Wands and the hopes and fears here, you're going to move into this place where you're going to reserve yourself. It's not necessarily that you need to find balance or that you need to be patient with anybody. I think it's more about, I can't be too quick to judge. I can't be too quick to make a choice. We can't be too emotional. We can't be too passionate. You have to have the nice flow, right? And then you have the Chariot. Pisces got that too coming out. And it's interesting how there's this feeling of we need to pick up the momentum. We have to pick up the pace. We need to go the distance, so to speak. But it is willpower and self-control, especially with that Knight of Wands being there. You don't want to get swept up in something if it doesn't have a sense of direction, but I think that that is where you're headed, and that is why you're kind of like reserved and holding yourself back. So the Page of Wands. This could definitely be about, some really good communication that you may be having here with a person, right? But this may feel like, because of the Oracle cards, a situation where, again, your time is being wasted if somebody is not willing to take a new path with you, right? Because it's excitement, it's enthusiasm, it's going down the path that we haven't been down before. We lack experience with this, but it's something that is good. It's exciting, right? Like, we should be doing this, especially with the Ace of Cups being there. But with the King of Pentacles, what I worry about here is for some of you, and kind of going back to, the deception group here and looking at everything. You could be dealing with a person here. It could be male, female, could be talking about earth sign, but we could be talking about somebody who can't be depended on, or somebody who's been doing things for selfish means or selfish gains with the King of Pentacles. Now, on the other hand, if intentions are not clear about an opportunity or how to move forward with that, you're going to have to be clear about, if this is you, what you are willing to give to make a situation successful. The King of Pentacles, that's kind of what he represents for me. you know, and it could be one of those things where you just don't want to be taken advantage of again. You don't want to be the provider. You don't want to be the dependable one if somebody is going to take advantage of that, which is understandable. But with the Chariot here, in looking at the Seven of Wands, right, the Page of Swords isn't going to stop you, you know. It doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter, you know, the information that you're getting, because if you're observing the situation, then you know exactly what's going on. And that may tell you that, yeah, there may be some opposition here, but it's not anything that is going to block your path, and you're getting right past that. But you're also moving into a place where you're not doing anything like abruptly, but then at the same time, you know, we're picking up the pace here, you know, and like literally the two different directions being pulled two different ways, right? That's kind of what I feel here. There's, you know, this group, and then there's that group. But, you know, for some of you, this is happening because there's this realization that you've been wasting your time with certain people in certain situations, you know, and that may be where it's hard to understand what's actually going on, what somebody is actually thinking, what they're actually feeling, which is why you're needing to watch what's going on and trust what you know to be the truth. But either way, with Temperance, I don't think that you're purposely like holding yourself back, but I think that you know that you need to come from a place of more understanding if you want to see the momentum being picked back up. Now, for those of you who are trying to get past the deception that may have happened, the Ace of Cups is still coming through here, so there could be a new beginning that you are working toward. It's just we need to close the door on this. But again, it may be hard because you're needing to seek the information here that you're not getting directly. Now, for some of you, it could just be that, you know, with the Page of Swords, right, like gossip, people running their mouths, but I don't see like the Three of Cups here. So I don't think it's like the cackling hen syndrome, but somebody thinks that they have the information and they don't, right? And it's up to you to discern what the truth is by, you know, watching and trusting what you know. I hope that that made sense. But the outcome for me is saying that you're coming from almost a more mature place in what you choose to do here. You know, we're not just getting swept up in passion and getting carried away here. We're trying to make sure that we make an informed choice almost with Temperance, right? So, you know, it makes me feel hopeful about the situation either way. Earth is saying that you need to go outside and you need to hug some trees. But if you're anywhere in the cold right now, that's a hell no. Not happening. Now, for some of you, it's just we need to become a little bit more grounded, right? But this one very specifically talks about you need to go outside. You need to be with nature. You need to be in tune with your surroundings, right? With the earth. But once we're more grounded, there is this celebration that is happening. And there is something that's going to be emerging out of that. And it makes me wonder if you're not going out and having a good time and something emerges out of that, you know. But that's only when you become a little bit more grounded. So especially if you've been in situations where people are wasting your time and you feel like they don't care about you the way that you care for them, and you're realizing that you don't fit anymore. This is saying that you need to embrace that emotion, but you also need to treasure the ones that you know love you and care about you. Those are the people that are going to be there for you, right? So make sure that you treasure those people. But, you know, you're going to have to deal with some emotions though too. You know, especially for those of you who have had to deal with this deception. You know, but then I also think that if you're wanting this Ace of Cups, you need to feel something for it, you know. But I think that we're too wrapped up in the unknown information and maybe the things that are being said that aren't exactly the truth, you know, to be fair. But either way, Aries, you coming out with Temperance says a lot about how, you know, reserved you're being about what choice you are going to make or how you're going to act. But just because you're not taking immediate action right now does not mean that you're going to let any opposition stand in your way. And again, if you're dealing with somebody who has not been honest with you about things and you're having to deal with that in the present moment, You're setting, the standard here with the Seven of Wands. You cannot do this anymore. This cannot happen. But again, the Chariot, right? With that Page of Wands, something about this feels really good. But I think that there may be a little bit of hesitation on your part. But I still think that you're coming from a place of like deeper knowing, deeper understanding, and not being too quick to do anything. But at the same time, you're needing to use a lot of self-control here before you start like going down this path. We need to make sure that this is the right thing to do.